Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Ghoti deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck got some absolutely insane support out of Darkwing Blast. This deck is at a whole new level now that we finally have all these new amazing cards for this build, and I'm really excited to show you guys all the changes I've made to this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight out into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Omen of the Ghoti. This card is a great 3 of in this particular deck, because this card can actually special summon itself to your side of the field, which is absolutely amazing. It has the ability if a fish monster or monsters is banished except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can target one of your Ghoti trap cards that's banished or in your graveyard and set that target back to your field, which is an awesome effect to be able to work with your copy of Ghoti Chain. I then played 3 copies of Light of the Ghoti. This card is a great 3 of in the deck as well, and it's our first tuner of the deck. It has the ability that you can banish this card that you control and then special summon out a fish monster from your hand, except another copy of this card, which is an awesome effect to just instantly get one of your fish monsters out to your side of the field. It also has the ability that during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can just special summon this banished card back to your side of the field, which is a great effect to instantly get this card on your side of the field, especially for its other effect, because during your opponent's main phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can quick effect immediately this card resolves, synchro summon a fish synchro monster using cards that you control, which is a awesome effect to be able to synchro summon during your opponent's turn. I then played 2 copies of Fairy of the Ghoti. This card is a really good 2-of, and I really like this card as a 2-of in this build. It has the ability you can banish this card from the graveyard, target a fish monster you control, and it gains 500 attack points, which is an awesome effect. And it also has the ability, just like your copy of Light of the Ghoti, that during the stand phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card, and you can also synchro summon using this card during your opponent's turn, which is an awesome effect to have on both of these monsters. I then play 2 copies of Ruby of the Ghoti. Ruby of the Ghoti is a great 2-of. I don't feel like you need any more than 2 copies of this card. It has the ability you can banish this card from your hand and then target a fish monster in your graveyard and banish it, which is a great effect, especially if one of your fish gets stuck in the graveyard. You can basically just use this card to make it live, which is really good. And then during your opponent's turn, if this card was banished, then you can special summon it, and if this card is special summoned except during the damage step, immediately this card resolves, you get to synchro summon a fish synchro monster using this card you control and other monsters, which is really cool to have on this card, that you can just synchro summon using this card by its effect. I then play a single copy of Shade of the Ghoti. Shade of the Ghoti is a good 1-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card in the deck, and it's a great level 6 that can actually special summon itself to your side of the field, because during the main phase, quick effect, you can banish 2 fish monsters from your hand or graveyard and special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is special summoned, you can target a face-up card on the field and banish it when it leaves the field, which makes a lot of your cards live, especially for this card's other effect, because you can target itself. That if this card is banished, then you can banish 1 fish monster from your graveyard to add this card back to your hand, which is an awesome effect to have on this card when it leaves the field. I then play 3 copies of Botuniful Princess. Botuniful Princess is one of the best normal summons in this entire deck, because when this card is normal or special summon, you can manage this card to special summon any level 4 or lower fish monster from your deck, except another copy of this card, which is super good to basically have additional copies of every single fish that you play in this deck. I then play 3 copies of Lifeless Leaf Fish. Lifeless Leaf Fish is a great 3-of normal summon for the deck, that when this card is summoned, you can send a fish monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card, and it also says that you can banish this card from the graveyard, and then target 3 fish monsters in your graveyard and shuffle those monsters back into the deck, and then you can draw a card, which is a pretty good effect if you get some of your fish in the graveyard. But that Foolish Burial is really good to combo with your copy of your Fairy of the Ghoti, because then you can just banish it for the attack boost for your Lifeless Leaf Fish, so that you have it banished so you can bring it back during your opponent's turn and synchro summon for one of our new synchro monsters, which is really awesome. We then play 2 copies of Silent Angler. Silent Angler is really good as a 2 of them in the deck, because if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can't special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn, so you usually want to make this card the last card that you special summon from your hand, but it's really good to help you go for rank 4s or even synchro plays. I then play 2 copies of White Stingray. White Stingray is a great 2 of as well, that you can special summon this card from your hand by discarding a water monster, which is a great effect to have on this card to just instantly get a level 4 monster on your side of the field. I then play 3 copies of Abyss Shark. Abyss Shark is a great 3 of as well, that if this card is used to XZ summon for a number monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or 4 monster, which helps us go for rank 4 plays in this deck. And if all monsters you control are water, minimum 1, you can just special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, you get to add a level 3, 4, 5 fish monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, but it does lock you into water monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal, because you can't special summon water monsters, except water monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because that's pretty much all we're summoning in the deck anyways. I then play 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter. D-Shifter is just so good in this deck because being able to drop this card against your opponent usually means you've got game, which is absolutely amazing. This card is a definite 3 of in the build because if you have no cards in the graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the grave until the next turn. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, which is extremely powerful. I then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. Ash Blossom is just a fantastic hand trap overall to stop the opponent in their tracks while they're going into the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing just a few spells. 1 copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is a really good 1 of in the deck, just to be able to get to our field spell, and the field spell is absolutely insane. We're playing 2 copies of Moray of Avarice. This card is really good to help you draw, because you can banish a face-up fish monster on your side of the field, and then draw 2 cards, which is super good, especially since our fish monsters can usually come back from being banished, which is really nice. I play 3 copies of the Most Distant, Deepest Beyond, or Depths. This card is a really insane field spell. I really love this card in this deck because while you control a fish synchro monster, this card cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects. And you can only use each of the following effects this card once per turn. That you can banish a fish monster from your hand or graveyard and add 1 Ghoti monster from your deck to your hand. And if a fish monster's is normal or special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, then you can target a fish monster that you control and banish it, and if you do, add this card back to your hand, so you can just get it right back, which is really nice. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Ghoti Chain. I still feel like you only need a single copy of this card. It has the ability you can banish 1 face-up fish monster that you control, and then special summon 1 of your Ghoti monsters that's banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard with a different original name from that banished monster to activate this effect, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a great effect to be able to just replace 1 of your monsters. And then play 3 copies of Gozen Match. Gozen Match is really good, especially to combo with number 4 that we're playing in the extra deck, to be able to lock down the opponent, especially if they're playing multiple types of monsters or multiple attributes of monsters, excuse me, which is just really good because all we're playing is water in this deck. So it doesn't really matter for us for this card, but it really stops the opponent in their tracks, which is really nice because each player can only control 1 attribute of monster, which is really awesome. So that's it for the traps, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. This card is absolutely amazing. One of my favorite artworks in the entire game. This card is absolutely insane. It is a complete board wipe. It does take a fish tuner plus a non-tuner monster to make this card, and the original attack of this card becomes 500 times the number of banished monsters. This card can get absolutely massive, and it's really insane. It has the ability also that if this card is synchro summoned during your opponent's turn, you can banish all cards on the field, and then during the standby phase of the next turn, after this card is banished from the monster zone, you can special summon this banished card, which is absolutely insane. I then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. This card is just a good walking negate. You don't summon it all that often in the deck, but it is a really good walking negate just in case you want to make it. I then play a single copy of the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. This card is a really good card in the deck, especially since we're banishing cards, because this card has a really neat effect that for every single banished card, all your monsters gain, or excuse me, this card gains 100 attack and defense, and any monster that your opponent controls loses 100 attack and defense, which is absolutely insane. This card can get really big, and is just really insane. For each card that's banished, it gains 100 attack points, which is super, super good. And also has the ability, if this card would be destroyed by a card effect, then you can banish a card from your graveyard instead. And if a card is banished, which will come up in this deck, then you can banish one card each from your opponent's field and graveyard, which is a really good effect because it doesn't target. We then play a single copy of Spear of the Ghoti. This card is a really good combo piece in the deck, but you only really need a single copy of this card. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster. And then during your opponent's standby phase, you can banish this card. Then if the monsters used as material for this card's synchro summon are all in the graveyard, you can special summon all of them but banish them when they leave the field, which is a pretty good effect that basically it has a desynchro effect. And then play a single copy of the Bicorn Ghoti. This card is a really good one-of in the deck. It also has the ability, if this card is synchro summoned, then you can target a fish monster that you control and one card your opponent controls and banish them, which usually you're targeting this card because it has the effect that if this card is banished, then you can banish any fish monster from your graveyard and just instantly special summon it back to your field, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Crystal Wing because we can make it, and it's a really good walking negate. One copy of Dragite. Dragite is a really good one-of as well because we do play water in the deck, so this card comes in extremely handy to play in the deck because it is a walking spell and trap negate. We play a single copy of White Aura Whale. White Aura Whale is insanely good, especially to make during the opponent's turn, because this card has an absolutely insane effect. Then when this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all monsters that your opponent controls in attack position, which is really good on this card. We then play two copies of the Serpent of the Ghoti. Serpent of the Ghoti is absolutely insane and one of the best support cards we got out of Darkwing Blast, because if this card is synchro summoned, then you can banish one level 6 or lower fish monster from your deck. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, then you can target a fish monster in the graveyard and banish that target. Then you can add a fish monster with equal or lower level from your deck to your hand, which is absolutely insane. It's a banish and it's a search, which is absolutely insane. I then play a single copy of number 4 because with Gozen Match, it pretty much locks down the field because this is going to make everything water, and unless your opponent's playing water, they're only going to be able to control one monster, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller just to lock down the graveyard, one copy of Bahamut Shark because we can make it, and a single copy of Totally Awesome because we're going to make that with our copy of Bahamut Shark to give us a walking negate, which is really good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play with. I've been playing with this deck a lot recently, and it is just a really fun deck, especially when you can make your copy of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond come out at like 9,000 or 10,000 attack points. It just gets absolutely insane. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.